when you go, you get a chance to look at this tape. I'm going to explain to the audience the backdrop of the plot, the plan, etc., to get into New York and to stay in New York and to protect the lives there. But explain the relationship between your father and Betty Shabazz.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That was the one question I wanted to, because I watched the video and it was beautiful to hear that you guys comforted Sister Betty with that because she needed that protection.
You know, Betty Shabazz, you know, may Allah give her the highest paradise.
I mean,
she suffered a great loss. You know, when she lost her husband. You know, and she was, you know, and that transition was so fast, and you know, there was really no one there to pick up the pieces, and she was shattered. And my father, she could remember, you know, the presence of my father, you know, coming forth, you know, standing there, you know, giving her husband his rights, you know, all the way from, you know, from the salat, the prayer of Janazah, all the way to the interment. And my father was very diligent in performing that duty because he wanted to make sure that no one had claims to Malcolm but the Muslims. And I think that impacted her life because she traveled to make the pilgrimage herself, you know, months after, you know, within the same year that her husband was assassinated, a few months after, and she was pregnant. You know, she was carrying twins at that particular time. And I think that she wanted to kind of like include herself in Malcolm's vision. You know, she wanted to go herself to Mecca. And she said herself that if it wasn't for the Hajj, she don't think she would have been able to survive that trauma. And I think that that's what created the bond between her and my father, and every year she would request him to come, you know, to Boston to speak on behalf of her husband. And I asked my father, you know, why is that he do this every year? Why, you know, he performed this, that. And he said that because everyone is pulling and grabbing on Malcolm, from the black nationalists to the Afrocentric community, from the political scientists, you know, all types of people. And he wanted to make sure that Malcolm stayed within the confines of the Islamic ideal, and that's why he performed it. And I think that kind of like put a stronger impression on Betty and gave her a deeper insight as to what is Islam and what is the real brotherhood. And when she herself was badly burned, as we know, and she was on her deathbed, she requested my father to come, you know, and he actually went. And my father told me that he would lead her in prayer, and she would follow him with her finger because she was so badly burned. So they had a long-going relationship, and also Malcolm's sister Ella Collins, my father would visit her on numerous occasions. As you know, Muhammad, she would come down, and when we have affairs in Jersey, she would come down as well.
That's right.
And my brother Imam Ali would sleep in Malcolm's bed when they would visit the house, when they would spend the night. And
yeah, he still brags about that, in case you want to know. Mashallah.
So that was a reunion, you know. I think, you know, even with the tragedy, you know, so much came out of that, and you know, I think Ella Collins was also a great support to Betty and mentored her as well, and she was able to manage the Muslim Mosque Incorporated affairs, you know, and as far as making sure that the scholarship that was allotted to them was given out to people who was, you know, actually worthy of it. And I think the masjid in Boston has given her a department there, you know, because of her association and her commitment. You know, they call it Ellen Collins, I think, department in the Boston masjid. So you know, and we are part of that legacy. And I always say that, you know, Malcolm is not history to us because we lived in that experience.
That's right.
You know, and not a history to us. We don't need the magazine clippings, the YouTube, you know, talks and the stamps and the street time. We know Malcolm as a living personality in our own midst that we connected with, and we have to Allah bless our community, Muhammad, to be able to oversee, you know, his last rites of the Janazah. community that was able to rise to the occasion upon the death of our Sister Betty. We was the ones that was blessed to carry her coffin and to
I still have that picture of you all in the New York Times, and I was heartbroken because I was supposed to go with you, and we got called out to trial on that when her janazah was going on. I can't even believe how mad I was, but I still see the picture. It's still one of the most brilliant pictures ever in New York Times history.
And see, for your father to do the janazah of Malik Shabazz, as known as he is, great as he is, and for Sister Betty Shabazz, as known as she is and as great as she was, both of them, and for the people to not push this name, for it not to be a household name.
Hisham Jabba, right?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.